Hello, we're back. Hotline Live is back.
Well, you say that.
Did we ever really go away?
Well, we went away, right? And now look what's happened. You go away, you cover a World Cup, and they change everything. I don't like change, Dan.
Sell your studio in the transfer market.
I know. I like that wee studio.
Aye, I know.
Was happy there.
We're getting used to our new surroundings.
I'm also, what are you doing coming into the office anyway?
It's the first. This is season 3 for us.
Yeah.
So I'll be here for the launch and that.
So we're through the difficult second season, so we should be better now.
Absolutely.
Should be a better product.
Absolutely. We're going to talk a lot about transfers tonight.
Office is busy, isn't it?
We'll just get the paper ready for tomorrow.
Aye.
We're going to talk about transfers, both Celtic, Rangers, and beyond. If you're watching at home, get in touch. Let us know your thoughts on, well, whatever you want, really. As I say, it's the first show back.
It's good to be back, Dan.
It's good to be back. I've missed doing it. But I think the best place for us to start, Keith, Rangers. I think you've got a wee bit of transfer news coming out of Ibrox.
Yeah, a wee kind of Hotline Live exclusive. Just put it online just before we come on the show tonight. The Rangers are pushing ahead with a planned swoop for Mario Dubry. And here's the key bit. Derek McInnes has spoken since the weekend, or since the game against West Ham on Sunday, I think, saying that he's very hopeful that he'll have 2 new faces in the door before the league kicks off away at Dundee United at Tannadice on Friday night. Dubry. See when
Easy for you to say.
I've got dyslexic issues, Dan. These names are a nightmare. New ones take a bit of getting used to.
It's no easy.
Dubry will not be one that Rangers are hopeful of getting in. So he's talking about 2 other players.
Right.
I think there's the issue with that particular player is things are a little bit up in the air at Brighton just now. They've rejected a €5 million bid from Anderlecht for him. Boy's 21.
Mm-hmm.
I think he really pulled up some trees on loan at Bolton last season, helped him successfully get promoted into the English Championship. I think he scored 10 and had double figures in assists as well. It's really highly rated, but I think that's part of the problem. I think Brighton really rate him quite highly as well. I don't think they see him as first team ready.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Fabian Hurtzer there? I think that see him.
It's a high standard, Brighton.
Yeah, but it is a high standard, and I think they see him as somebody that is one for the future somewhere down the line. Derek McInnes, on the other hand, sees him as absolutely ready for first team football at Rangers. So the question then becomes, what did Rangers do? They're going to have to. I think the kind of message that I'm hearing is they know they're going to have to be patient with this one. This is one that could go all the way up towards the end of the window. Is it as straightforward as Anderlecht bid 5, so Rangers bid 6? Does that unlock a deal, or is it going to? Are they going to have to be patient because Brighton are talking about maybe tying this boy up in the new? I think he's contracted for another 2 and a bit years.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're talking about extending that contract off, making them a bigger contract offer. In which case, if they were to do that, you would have to assume that the chances of Rangers getting them would have to be on some sort of loan deal.
Yeah.
But we can confirm that there are talks. Talks have begun between the 2 clubs, and there's heavy interest from Rangers in getting this deal done.
He's got 2 years in his deal left at Brighton, so still a while. Blue Nose John in the comments says, what about the Tony Bloom factor in this? Could he weigh in and say, listen?
Well, yeah, I mean, he could, couldn't he?
Could,
and Tony Bloom won't think that he owes Rangers any favours given what's happened over the summer. So yeah, Tony Bloom could become involved. But from what I'm hearing, I think Rangers think that this deal is something that they can do. They're just going to have to be prepared to be patient with it. But yeah, if I'm Tony Bloom, I might well just decide to go and throw a big spanner on that works.
Rangers of Midlothian, I think is what they're calling it. You mentioned Derek McInnes. Why don't we hear from the Rangers manager? A few other tidbits of Rangers stuff that I want to go over, but let's hear what he was saying the other day.
Surely, still work to do to be the team that we want to be. We've got Banya done, obviously, and we're just waiting his visa. We're quite hopeful we've got one done at the minute, and hopefully some news in the next 48 hours. And we're also trying to maybe bring one more in if we can for Friday night. I would really like that to be the case, because I do think in one or two areas of the pitch we're still a bit short, and ideally that's the areas we want to target.
Derek, obviously you've got numerous options in the centre pitch. With Nico still to come back, does he have a part to play? For the opening of the season, could we see him?
Not for the opening part of the season, he won't. But going forward, unless obviously, Nico might be subject to some interest. We're well aware of that. We've always thought he could be a flight risk this summer in the back of the World Cup. So we've reinforced the midfield area. But obviously, if nothing comes in for Nico, then it's another good player to add to it. And we are the one area of the pitch we are really strong is through the middle of the park just now. No, Nico will be back this week, but he won't come into contention for the game on Friday. He's not going to do enough training ahead of that. And I think after as many games played, his World Cup exploits, we never planned for Nico to be back for Dundee United. But with good options in there, and it's an area the team we're quite strong.
With regards to the ones that you hope to get done before Friday, would they be ready and available to play Friday night, or would that be too soon?
Yeah, well, they're obviously training at other clubs and doing a bit. They might not be up to exactly where we are, but the intention would be to try and bring them in as soon as possible, and we can make an assessment on that. But I do think that one or two of them could come into the squad, if we get them.
Derek, you say be deals, Del, or would they be loans?
One's a permanent, one might be a loan. Ideally, two would be a permanent.
That's all right.
Derek McInnes there, Keith, right? And I get it that Omaria Cozier Dewberry might be a world-class player, might be a brilliant talent, right? But see, if I'm Rangers and I'm looking at spending upwards of £6 million on a winger, it's got to be Václav Černý.
There's certainly an interest there, but I've been reporting for the past couple of weeks that I think this one looks unlikely for Rangers.
Really?
As much as there's obviously an interest, I think the player himself is interested. But even just before we came on air, there's news coming out of Istanbul that Besiktas, who did look as if they were going to tie up a deal for Mo Salah, that stalled. In fact, one of the directors at Besiktas tonight has said that it's reaching a dead end because of financial issues which have been encountered. I think the agents seem to move the goalposts on some stuff at the 11th hour. You would have thought if they sign Mo Salah, it's Václav Černý then becomes a player that's certainly excess baggage, and I think he would want to move to Rangers anyway.
Aye.
But until such times, they signed Trossard from Arsenal for 17 million. I think they're still looking to bring in more. So that one could change. But I think the difficulty Rangers are going to have with that is the finances. Maybe not so much the asking price. I think Besiktas only paid €5 million for him.
Aye.
I think if they get their money back, they'd probably be, if they get the players that they're looking to get in this transfer window, would they be holding out for much more than that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the actual fee would be. I'd be surprised if they were looking to turn the coin on a player that they think isn't necessarily good enough for their own first team. The problem I think that Rangers are going to have, and where they should have acted this time last year, is the wages that he commands at Besiktas. I think it's about 45 grand a week. And Rangers are going to have a problem trying to match that, and without, disrupting their whole sort of pay structure, wage structure within the club. I think Derek McInnes would bite your hand off him.
I think he's a brilliant player. I really do. I think
he's got experience in the league. He's a good age. And I think if I'm Derek McInnes as well, I'm probably looking at that squad right now saying, going to stop with the 21-year-olds and even though we've just been talking about one at Brighton, he's 21.
Need a ready-made.
I think the squad lacks players of a certain age that have got the experience, that have been, around the block a few times.
And creative players.
And they're screaming out for a right winger. So there's a lot about Černý to Rangers that makes sense, but I think the finances are going to be a stumbling block.
Plenty of people asking us about Celtic. And
now, put it this way,
Go on.
there is a lot of speculation, rumours, excitement. Could Černý be one of these two players that gets brought into the club before Friday night? Not my understanding.
Okay.
He won't be one of the two.
I was going to say, there's a lot of people asking about Celtic. We will come to Celtic.
What are people saying about our new studio?
They're loving it, I think. Aye, what's not to love?
It's like when the BBC moves sports scene into the foyer.
But the last one in Rangers, Blue Nose John again, he says, are Rangers still interested in Mikey Moore? You heard any more about
that? Well, that's interesting as well. He is with Spurs just now, somewhere between New Zealand and
Australia.
Aye. He played in one of the most recent game, I think, he got over an hour. But Roberto De Zerbi was asked afterwards, after that game, is this Mikey Moore playing his way into your plans now? His response to it was a bit cold fish, wasn't it? I think he said something along the lines of, well, look, we are trying to sign wingers, and once we've done our work in the transfer market, we'll speak to his agents and see what the best solution is, which suggests the best solution isn't staying at Spurs.
When a manager starts saying we'll find a solution, the solution isn't even going to start every week.
Which is, well, look, he is a young kid.
Aye.
But I thought his improvement was dramatic last season at Rangers. He grew into a man. And I think, if Rangers could get back to the front of the queue to get a loan deal for Mikey Moore, then I'm pretty positive that's something they would look to investigate. But right now, again, if that was to happen, that would need to be, you would think, way towards the end of the month. Again, certainly not something that's going to happen this week. I think Rangers would certainly be throwing their hat into the ring for Mikey Moore if there was an availability to get him on loan. But I don't think they were the only ones. And I think even Borussia Dortmund's name has been mentioned. If I'm Mikey Moore, that might excite me as well.
Some experience,
but that all said, there's no doubt. I think he grew very fond of Rangers during his time, during his season-long loan. I wonder if he would be keen to push for that if that was going to be an option. But you also have to think about his long-term future. If it gets to the stage that he goes back every summer, plays a couple of bounce games while the big guys aren't around to fill the jerseys, and then gets told, nah, you're getting papped again, you wonder if he might be looking for a more longer-term solution, because I don't think you'd want to continually keep going back and then getting told to leave Spurs at the end of every summer transfer window with your tail between your legs. He's a better player than that. Mikey Moore's going to be an excellent player.
Yeah, I agree.
This time last year when he signed for Rangers, there was a lot of talk about he's a once-in-a-generation talent. And I think that you got to see why people were talking in such exciting terms about Mikey Moore. Certainly over the second part of last season. I think Rangers would be crazy not to see him as a viable option if he becomes available, and it probably seems that he might do. If on the other hand Spurs say, right, do you know what, it's not going to work for you here, we're going to sell you, Rangers are completely priced out of it at that point.
And then John in the comments says Mikey Moore won't develop much by coming back to the SPFL.
I thought he developed loads last season, and I think I was actually reaching the conclusion towards the end of last season, one more season in Scottish football.
He's still not even 19.
Yeah, one more season. Really one more season. And because you saw he grew, he looked like a kid. He looked like a school kid when he arrived at first. It seemed a bit too much for him. Men's football, the competitive stuff, and he grew into it, and he became far more robust physically. And I actually think one more season, if they'd made that decision, they could have made it last season. Spurs could have said, "Look, do you know what? Have one more year," because I think if he had one more year, if he was to return to Rangers for one more season, by the end of that season, it's make or break time. He's either a first team player at Spurs or he's getting sold, and he's getting sold for a lot of money.
Yeah,
but that might be accelerated now, because if De Zerbi's had a look and he thinks, well, you're not going to be an option for me, then I think Spurs would take him to the market, and if Spurs take him to the market, Rangers would be priced out.
You'd imagine. Let me throw a few of these Celtic comments at you. Ryan says, why are Celtic not just spending big? If the cash is there, when you would make it back, if you can build a good squad for the Champions League, it's a no-brainer. It's been complicated because Rangers are making good progress as well. Stranger Code says, Celtic better get the finger out and sign some players. The season starts in a few days. And all we get is rumours. It's impossible being a Celtic fan every January and every summer. And on top of that, we've got a few people calling, asking if there's any news on the Casper Hoog Hoog.
Is that where you're going with?
We've been debating it here in the studio how you pronounce Casper Hoog's last name.
Well, we've got Swedish Henrik, our producer.
Yeah.
Admittedly not Danish.
Not Danish.
But he was going more like Hoy, wasn't he?
Aye. You said almost say it like it's Chris Hoy. So Casper Hoy. Hoy. It's fun way to say it.
Is that who? I think it's that. It's the Billy Connolly one. Who?
Aye. So Casper Who, apparently he's in London. I did this Record Celtic podcast earlier today, which is out there if you want to check it out with Ryan McDonald. He seems to say that
He's here for a medical, isn't he?
he's in London for a medical. Apparently it's all on schedule. He will be getting announced. But other ones, Celtic, there was a lot of transfer buzz that yesterday on Sunday that it would be a big weekend and maybe Hassim Hassan, Egypt winger, would be getting announced, but there's no news on that front either.
Well, I think he's only just about to return to training at Real Oviedo.
Right.
He was given an extended leave after the World Cup. I think this one is one that Celtic are really keen on.
Yep.
And when you think about it, right, and Martin O'Neill, God, not the weekend past, but the weekend before that, was talking about, well, I don't want to say players will be in on Monday because it could be Wednesday.
Right.
And here we are more than a week later and they're not in. But we think Casper Who is about to get done. This is significant business.
Aye.
And, Celtic fans, and by the way, I'm not criticising them for it. They've every right to be upset, raging, furious at the way the transfer dealings have been mishandled over a consistent series now of successive transfer windows. It's been nowhere near good enough. But I have to say, it's a very positive step for Celtic. If they're prepared to break their own record, because I think it's a little bit more than the deal for Arne Engels.
Mm-hmm.
£11 million, he's a striker. Look, you're never certain, and especially from Bodo Glimt, have a brilliant setup, and the players are phenomenal when they're at Bodo Glimt. They don't tend to travel well when they've been sold. But from the little that I've seen of this guy, he's big, he's powerful, he's aggressive. I think he's clinical.
He's done it in the Champions League.
He's scored goals in the Champions League. I think this is a really significant signing for Celtic. Now, if they then follow that up with a move for the Egyptian winger, again, dyslexia, Hassan.
There you go.
And then the German midfielder, Mika Boer. If they could get these three bits of the jigsaw in the door this week, I think even the harshest critics of the Celtic board would have to say, well, do you know what, guys? Well done. You've by the way, you should have been doing this weeks ago.
Yep.
They should have been in the door well before the start of the domestic season. But better late than never. And even if Michael Nicholson's coming out in a cold sweat and thought having to sign off on these checks, it could be as much as you could be looking at another £11 million for the two of them on top of the £11 million for Hoog. Now, that's £22 million plus £6 that's already been spent on Camilo Duran.
Yep.
And at that point, you say, you've got to give them credit for that. You've got to give them credit because what they're doing is living up to the demands and the expectations, perhaps surpassing some of the demands and expectations of the Celtic support.
Yep.
And they're a hard to please Celtic support. But I think that there on its own, you look at it, you go, well, that's good. However, and here's where the problem is for Celtic and the perennial problem for Michael Nicholson. You get all that business done, and then somebody says, aye, but there's only really 18 million because you got 10 million back from Maida. Then you haven't dealt with outstanding issues. Arne Engels, who will demand his move this summer and expect his move this summer.
And you might not get 25, but you'll get 15 conservatively.
Let's just, for argument's sake, let's say you get £15 million in the door there. Rio Hatate, he'll want to leave. So what are you going to get there? And let's say, for argument's sake, another 5 million. So they'd take up to 20 million. Then you've got an issue with Callum McGregor, the captain who hasn't signed a new contract and who ended last season with saying, by the way, do not take it for granted that I'm going to sign a new deal and just stay here.
Yeah.
I want to be Celtic captain as long as Celtic match my ambition. And I don't want to be a Celtic captain who plays or leads out a team that can't win trophies. He's not going to accept that, Callum McGregor. That's an issue that remains unresolved. And Callum McGregor, by his standards, has had a very low-profile summer in terms of his media work. Usually he's out fronting up this, that, and the next thing.
Yep.
Not heard a lot for Callum this summer, which suggests to me, plus the fact he got himself a new agent, didn't he, towards the tail end of last season, plus the fact Brendan Rodgers' son also works with said agency.
Why would you, if you're 33, you've got 2 years left in your deal at Celtic, why would you move agents?
I'm not even, I mean, hardly needed an
I
agent.
didn't, you say I didn't mean I didn't have an agent.
All these things feel a bit up in the air. Paulo Bernardo looks like he could be moving on. That's an entire midfield.
Aye.
So see, after saying brilliant, Michael Nicholson, you've done great, you've went away, you've opened up the bank vault, you've dusted down the dollars, and you've went away and spent some of it. Brilliant. But see, if you've then make more in sales than you've spent
You've
on
not
incomings,
you've not really invested in it,
you're
have you?
back at square one,
Aye.
and the Celtic fans will be raging again. Plus the fact any chance you can get as a midfield.
Aye.
So, and there's continued interest, and it's no surprise over Alistair Johnson as well. What if somebody comes in there? I tell you, see, if somebody does come in there, Celtic had better be sure that they've got their fingers on the button ready to press it for a replacement of a similar quality.
Aye.
Because you saw the difference to the Alistair Johnson made to that Celtic team when he came back from injury last season.
Yeah, big time.
He was a big miss throughout that period when he wasn't available to play, and he just gives the team so much more attacking balance and threat going down the right hand side.
Even Arojo, who looked like a good signing, Johnson was a level up.
I think so.
Aye.
For me, yeah. So these are all issues that just when they think they might be catching a break and buying themselves a bit of breathing space by going and actually spending some money on some football players, they've got a whole tranche of issues that are about to rear up.
Aye.
And by the way, if anybody hasn't been paying proper attention, this time next week, Celtic will be getting sent out to go and start their title defence.
Aye.
And they're not ready.
A week tonight.
And Rangers aren't ready either, for that matter.
And then, of course,
I wrote a column about it last week, Dan. If I'm Derek McInnes and I'm Martin O'Neill, I'm not particularly feeling comfortable at this point in the proceedings. With less than a week to go before the season begins. And there is so much work still to get done for both of them in the transfer window. But Celtic's entry might be about to really swell if there is the sale of an Engels, a Hitati. We don't know what Callum McGregor's got in his mind. Paulo Bernardo, Alistair Johnson. Wow, because that's you. I mean, Celtic have lost a lot of players from last season's squad, but fringe guys. But now you're actually looking at guys, the exception of Bernardo, that would be starters almost every week.
Yeah. John in the comments says it's about time Celtic started splashing the cash in quality players for key positions instead of bringing a raft of projects or loans. Rodgers was asking for this for ages.
And look how that ended up.
Exactly. Strange says Celtic need plenty of players. There'll be no well-dones. Celtic need a striker, at least one left winger, a left back to share duties with KT. We need a creative midfielder. If Nygren and Engels, or Engels goes, I think he means. Anne says, what about Greg Taylor on loan? Did you see that?
Well, I think Greg Taylor might be one of these guys, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way at all, but one of the many that discover the grass isn't always greener. I think he rushed into making that decision to leave. Obviously wasn't delighted at the thought of maybe job sharing or even playing second fiddle to Kieran Tierney at left back. If he's actively pushing to get back in, I think it makes a great deal of sense. I think Celtic squad is poorer without Greg Taylor. I think he gives them so many different options. Yes, I accept that when Kieran Tierney's fit in the bigger games, he would be your first choice. Of course he would be. His wages alone would demand that. But Greg Taylor's more than capable. And I don't even want to use the word understudy. He's just a slightly different player. He plays the role slightly differently.
I said this in the Celtic podcast the other day and got vilified for it. The comments coming in, he wasn't good enough the first time round.
I thought he was a great Celtic player.
I agree. I think he was a really good player. I don't really get it. Chillpill in the comments says, I'd love Greg Taylor back at Celtic. And they need a goalkeeper as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot still needs done.
There's so much still needs done
at Celtic.
But you would you think with everything that Martin O'Neill said, and to be fair to Martin O'Neill, he deserves a bit of credit as well, because when people were starting to panic, Martin O'Neill kind of stayed on message that the board understand what I need, and they also understand their own responsibilities. He was always confident. Now, if over the course of the coming days before Dundee arrive at Celtic Park next Monday night, if 3 come in the door, the 3 that we're talking about, and it is that sort of level investment, which would be over 20 million quid getting spent, then that's a good starting point. The question is what comes next. What's looking around the corner? Sometimes with Celtic, it's complacency that's looking around the corner. They can't be complacent again in this window. So if the players on the out list looks as extensive as it does seem to be, Celtic are going to have to keep coming back. It's going to have to be one hit after another. They can't just go, right, well, we've spent 22 million quid, we're fine. You're not fine, you've just lost a midfield. So there's so much work, and that, I think, will terrify a lot of Celtic supporters, because they've seen when it wasn't really extensive surgery that's been required previously, the board was incapable of getting deals done.
To get it done.
So it's encouraging from this perspective that they might get 3 players in the door before the league kicks off. But there's a huge worry about what follows over the month of August.
David has written in about the Hearts game tomorrow night, and we'll come to that in a wee minute. We'll also hear from the new Hearts manager, Wouter.
It's another one from my dyslexia.
Wouter Vraken.
It takes me about 3 months up to into the season before I've got
we'll get there by
handle
Christmas.
on all this.
We'll hear from him in a wee minute, but you've been with Willie Collins today, Keith.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see what was happening there.
I went to wee Willie Wonky's refereeing factory for a media briefing for the season ahead, Dan, and quite mildly interesting as referee stuff gets. But they're kind of Willie Collins had meetings with 11 of the 12 top flight clubs. I think he's got Dundee United on his agenda before Dundee United play Rangers on Friday night. And he's kind of he's warning them there's going to be a World Cup style crackdown on time wasting. That was my big takeaway from what was said. There was a lot said, a lot about VAR and decisions, and they are good to toss over some of them, but it didn't really amount to much. Willie, what he did say, by the way, which we'll need to get Des. I need to speak to Des. He says, I've heard people clearly he's raging. I've heard people saying that we use VAR light. It's not VAR light. And then went on to admit that, well, but if we could only spend £1.3 million a week on getting the really good technology, it'd be better.
How can you say it's not VAR? I mean, we don't have.
It's VAR light. The World Cup shows that. That's proper VAR. We've got Aldi VAR. Anyway, Scott's top flight clubs have been warned to expect a World Cup style crackdown on time wasters when the new season gets up and running this weekend. Now, there's various points to this. As you'll remember from the World Cup, Dan, if you're making a substitution, standard, right? We're not talking about some guy's lying with his leg split into
just a normal sub.
Standard substitution. Player has 10 seconds to get off the pitch. Willie Collins stressed that it's not as if they're going to be standing there with a stopwatch going, it's 10.2 seconds. But if they think that somebody is taking a liability or time wasting in any way, shape, or form, or not being as prompt to the sidelines as they would like to be, if it goes over the 10-second mark, the referee is then able to say, right, well, you're going off, but the substitution is not getting made.
Right.
And the substitution is then put on hold for at least 1 minute, 1 full minute after the restart, and then up until it remains, the player can't come onto the pitch until there's a break in play, some way, shape, or form. So potentially the 1 minute turns into 2 minutes, turns into 3 minutes, depending on what's happening in the game. So I actually don't mind that one. I think that I'm interested to see how it'll be applied by our guys.
I mean, Paul in the comments says there'll be a lot of bookings if they really stick to this.
Well, it's not bookings.
Of course, it's not. I'm still in the sub.
There is bookings, I believe, for you've got 5 seconds now to take a throw in. I can see this one being really difficult to implement. Because for a kick-off, right? Well, it's not a kick-off, it's a throw-in. But just say you're playing wide left. You win a throw-in
Yep.
down near the corner flag of in the opposition half. But James Tavernier is still around and he's playing in your team. He's at right back, but he wants to take a throw-in. How are you going to do? I don't understand that. I think it's going to be really difficult. How's he going to get from right back up to left in 5 seconds to take a throw-in? I think that's going to be a difficult one, but you know, and it could become contentious because there could be a lot of bookings for that. But again, you know, the theory is that they want to speed up the games, that they want the ball on the pitch in action for longer during the 90 minutes. And all these matters as well. If you're only getting 10 seconds to make a substitution, well, the current rule is you get 30 seconds added on for every substitution in injury time. So it should bring the injury time down at the other end as well.
Should do.
What else was there?
Well, in the comments, Rebel and Stevie. Rebel says, I like the hydration breaks, am I the only one? Stevie says, can we bring in the hydration breaks?
Wow, why do we want that?
And Marzuno points out, and I actually agree with him, the VAR at the World Cup was different class altogether. But I agree with him in the sense that it's because it hardly ever get involved.
Yeah, well, it was used sparingly. That's what made it better.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's also another one. If a player needs to get treatment from this season going forward, an injury treatment of any kind, he has to leave the pitch again for that same minute.
Right.
Minimum of a minute up until the next break of play.
Unless they've been fouled.
Unless the injury has warranted a yellow or red card to an opposition player.
So if you take a sore one, the player gets booked and you need treatment, you don't need to go.
You're fine.
Aye. Okay.
But if you're down injured and the referee doesn't think that it should be a yellow card or whatever, then and one of the other topics, this stuff. We're not following FIFA with that one. So you can put your hand up and say whatever you want.
Happen in Scotland,
I could say anything about you here. And I'm not going to get red carded for that. Well, do you know, I thought it has been creeping in.
Oh, really?
And funnily enough, the name that just came up with James Tavernier, he was a great one for
that. Was he?
I
never really noticed it.
But it was something that really came from La Liga, wasn't it? It was a Spanish thing.
Aye.
Because they were actually getting lip readers to come and watch games to tell you what they were saying when they were having an argument.
And I think it was off the back at Cristiani with Vinicius Junior allegedly said a racist quote, and that's why they're down in it.
That was what made FIFA make it an issue at this World Cup. We won't be. What is there?
Morzuno says head injuries were out of control last season, entering head injuries. That is something I did notice. A lot of people would go down, say it was a head injury, stop the play.
And I think, to be fair to Willie Collum, and I won't often utter those words, to be fair to Willie Collum, but to be fair to him, he said, look, head injuries are head injuries. We're referees, we're no doctors. If a guy goes down, what we got to say, there's nothing the matter with you.
Exactly. You can't really do much.
So if a player goes down, and I don't like it, I think Marzuno's absolutely right. I think he's onto something. And if you notice, it was particularly if you're in a busy penalty area, where there's a high probability that somebody's going to stick the ball in the back in it, somebody go down holding their head. And I think that's one that they're going to have to watch. I don't know what you do about it.
Imagine, God forbid, a referee said, no, there's nothing wrong with your head, and it was a serious injury.
And the guy's got concussion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything else before we...
Yes. And another tweak. Hold on. And another tweak to the rule book, VR will now be able to overturn some yellow cards if the men in the studio believe a referee has punished the victim rather than the perpetrator in any coming together.
So that was the Egypt red card, if you remember, against Argentina. Was it Argentina? Where you got there was a booking given, but then you looked at it again, said, no, you've dived. Booking gets taken away from the player and you get a booking for diving. And you're off. No, you're entirely wrong. Okay.
Not least because that was against Switzerland.
That's what it was. It was Switzerland.
Argentina, Switzerland.
So it was.
No. In fact, they actually did bring that clip,
right?
And we watched that, and this is sometimes just too much with the referees and with Willie, because Chris Boyd was there as part of the kind of media briefing, because obviously these guys need to be able to comment during live games. And Chris Boyd said quite rightly, that was the right decision. Well, that's exactly, surely that's what we do want. If a yellow card has been given unfairly, no contact, and the guy's cheated to dive, win himself a free kick and get his opponent booked, surely that's a good thing, Willie, that we... No. And this is where it becomes real sort of rule book geeky stuff. Willie's good at that. That would... I'm going to struggle to explain this because it doesn't make a lot of sense. So the incident that I'm talking about, right? Me and you coming together in the middle of the pitch, right? And referee at full speed goes, I was the aggressor there, and I get a yellow card. The VAR looks at it, and what they see, in fact, in slow motion, is that you're rating your studs down my knee. Then you're the aggressor.
Right.
And what they say in that case is they call it mistaken identity.
Right.
So it's not really a mistake. We know who the two players are.
Just misinterpreted.
There has been a foul, and it's worth a yellow card, but it was you, not me, that deserves a yellow card, right?
Okay.
So on that basis, you can overturn a yellow card. And what they're saying about that other one is it's a different infringement. It's a different rule break.
Right.
It's not mistaken identity.
Right.
It's he's taking a dive. It's a different. Now, why we're at a stage where we can't just use the technology and say, well, that guy's diving there, getting booked.
I don't really get it.
I don't get it, but it's rule book stuff, and Willie, I'm sure, did explain it. That I'm starting to glaze over this, but I think it's something about the rule book and IFAB, and there is no rule in place that would allow the footballing authorities to do that as it stands. So somebody went rogue at FIFA during the World Cup with that decision.
Rangers is okay in the comments, says, evening fellas, it's good to have you back. Reckon we're 3 or 4.
It's good to have you back, Rangers, easy okay.
It's good to have everyone back in the comments, good to see all the familiar names. I reckon we're about 3 or 4 quality additions away from being a right good team. I think Hearts will pose more of a threat than Celtic. You can see it's been a long summer, but some things never change. And I mentioned, obviously, about Hearts and Hibs. Should say, Keith, their game tomorrow night.
I don't know where he's getting that one from.
Go on.
That Hearts are going to be more of a threat to Rangers than Celtic.
I was going to say, if you watched Hearts last week, no harm to them. I know still early days under the new manager and the whole team's been ripped up, but they were pretty woeful last week. And
they're missing the 3 key protagonists from last season's campaign.
Exactly.
The manager that held it all together and that led it, their best striker and captain, and their best midfield player.
Aye. The whole spine of the club, basically.
Yeah, and then they've got injury issues because Halkett's such a big player for Hearts last season, and he's not around. And I thought defensively they were a horror story last week in Austria. Playing again tomorrow night, the second leg, they might as well no bother with that tie because it's done. Listen, I hope that Hearts regroup and come back strong, but I think to dismiss Celtic, given that Celtic have won the titles, I don't know how many times at the last.
Rangers easy okay can say, but I think it was a bit tongue in cheek there. I think, who knows? I could be wrong, but
yeah, I wouldn't pay too much attention to that. I think obviously, I think we might be wrong, and Jamestown might play an absolute blinder, and Hearts, and they've gone full Jamestown, haven't they? Derek McInnes was half Jamestown.
Aye.
Because he had a big input in what players were getting signed, and he was running the club. He's a manager. He was called a head coach, but he was a manager. And we've had the discussion about the different terminology there. Rangers have got Derek McInnes to be a manager, which is really important for them. And even though he was head coach at Hearts, he was the manager, and he was the driver. And this is now a different. Now it's almost as if Tony Bloom and his Jamestown geeks will be going, "Oh, brilliant! Get him out of the way. Get a guy in that's happy just to work under our terms and our conditions, and we'll go full Jamestown." And that's going to be really interesting because we're about to discover was what Hearts managed to nearly achieve last season. Was that down to what we think it was down to, what looks obvious from the outside, or was it this magical mystery Jamestown analytics? And without Derek McInnes getting in the way of it, maybe it'll make them even better. I have my doubts.
Time will tell. But in the Hibs as well, David says Hibs and Hearts are a disgrace to go out that early. Should say Hibs aren't out yet. They did lose 2-0 in Kosovo. I mean, that is, a team that had never won in Europe before.
It's a shocker.
And I would even go as far to say
it's a shocker. And did they not get turned over 9 goals by some Icelandic team?
Really the bottom of the barrel.
It's a shocker. But I think Hibs will turn that around in the home game.
I think they have to. But
I think they will.
I think David Gray, and I know social media is by no means the be all end all, but the stick he was taking last week on X and on Facebook and stuff, he'll be under a lot of pressure if they don't get through that.
I think they will. The Hibs are a different proposition at home.
I hope they do. I hope they do.
I just think these are embarrassing results. The real skid mark results, aren't they? Every summer, it's terrible.
It's a good way to put it.
It's terrible. And I'm actually sick of it. I'm fed up with it.
Aye.
Because why put such an emphasis? Why do we put such an emphasis? Oh, the race for Europe. No, the race is to get out of Europe. The race is to Brexit as quickly as possible. When the real big hitters, when the competitions aren't even properly up and running, and all our clubs continually disgrace themselves. Not all of them, but the clubs that are jostling for position to try and get into these qualifiers. It's just so far south of being good enough, and it really needs to improve. I have strong hopes that Hibs will turn that tie around, and go on to get some points in the coefficient bag, because we desperately need them. Hearts are done, and they're going to do really well from this position to actually get any kind of European campaign, never mind Champions League football.
It's going to be really tough for them, really tough for them. Those games are obviously later this week, but I think for tonight, Keith, that brings us to the end of our first show back. Season 3 is underway.
Where's McDermott?
Very good question. Thinks because he's done the World Cup now, that's him. He's wrapped it. He might be back tomorrow. That's the word on the street. He might be back tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. But for tonight, that brings us to the end. Thank you for all your comments, all of your questions. We massively appreciate it. And we'll be back to do it all again at 6 p.m. tomorrow, Keith. It's always a pleasure.
Yes.
Good to do it in person.
Yeah, I take it you'll not be coming in tomorrow.
Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. I hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.